Hey guys, so as you can see from the title of this video, today I want to talk about the masturbation problems that I developed after getting raped and molested at 6 years old. I've definitely talked about getting raped and molested before, but I don't think I've talked about like the specific masturbation problems that I developed when I was growing up, in my childhood, my adolescent years, and also my teenage years. I most definitely developed some issues, and I will talk about them in detail today. We all have issues growing up, but like I had like that trauma in my mind, that sexual trauma in my mind, and like when you have sexual activities happen to you without your consent when you're a kid, before puberty even happens, before you even know what sex is or like what private parts are, that kind of messes you up. And I would be lying if I said it didn't affect the way that I behaved sexually, starting at 6 years old up until literally like probably 19. And even now today I'm 25 and I don't think I'm even fully healed from that trauma. So I hope that, you know, if you're watching this, you either care about my story, so thank you, but I hope if, you know, I really hope that someone out there can feel a little bit less alone or a little bit less weird, because I know there's a lot of like survivors out there and people that can relate to my story. So that's my hope and my goal for this video. Before I start jibber jabbering, please do me a favor and like this video and subscribe to my channel if you're new here. Please also check out my links below. I have all of my products and my entire stores down there, so I'm sure you'll find something that benefits you in some way, shape, or form. Support me and check out my links below. So I want to first start, I have a little journal here. I wrote down like notes for this video because I don't want to like miss anything. I want to first start with some background as to what happened, to either remind you, or if you don't know me, I want to let you know what happened to me when I was a kid. Basically, when I was 6 years old, I was raped and molested by two different guys. So the first guy was actually like my neighbor who was also my age, so another like male kid who was 6 or 7 years old. His name was Ray, and I don't really consider this situation like rape, maybe molesting, but like I think the better word for it is like he basically pressured me into doing sexual things with him when I was 6 years old. There was one day when I was hanging out at his house. His parents were like in the other room or something, and we were in his living room, and I went to go look at something, and then I turned around and his pants were off, and he had a boner, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, and he was like, oh, like touch it. And I was like, okay, and I did, but I didn't know what I was doing, so it was just like, I kind of just played with it, I guess. Also, this was in Indonesia, in Jakarta, Indonesia. I was born there. So then I played with the Z word, and then he told me to take off my clothes, and so I did. I guess not take off my entire like clothing. It was just like my pants, I would just pull it down. He told me to do that, and so I did, and I don't know how we were able to have boners, but like we both had boners, and he was playing with my D word with his hand. So that was like kind of the start of something new, but in like a bad way. Eventually, like this became kind of like a weekly thing. So he lived literally across the street from me, so I would come over and we would go where like his parents are not at, or where we would like not be able to be seen, and we would just take off each other's pants and touch each other. It was pretty much just touching for, I would say, what, the first like month of it. It was just hand stuff, you know, not hand jobs because we didn't like finish or anything, but like we would just play with each other's like D words without, no kissing, none of that stuff. It was just, you know, playing with it. And then what happened one day, I don't know how this happened, but I was hanging out with my other neighbor whose name was Jessica, and she had this like uncle who was like 40 or 50 at the time, and I remember he looked old because he had like white hair. Basically, Jessica and I were watching this South Park episode, and suddenly her uncle picked me up and then like literally brought me upstairs and put me in this like dark room on a bed, and then he took off my pants and started to give me head. I guess like because I had already done stuff with Ray before this situation, I guess my body knew to get a boner, and I guess like physically I did enjoy it. I definitely did not enjoy it mentally or like in general, because I was really uncomfortable that like this old man was kind of like violating me, you know. But basically he gave me head for like a few minutes, and then he took off his pants and he had like a full-on boner and told me to play with it. I did not put my mouth on it or anything. I just kind of like touched it. I remember it being really big because I was small. I was literally 6 years old, and it was like this giant like schlong, and I guess I played with it. I wasn't aroused by that. I just kind of like did what he told me to do because we were literally locked in this like dark room in his house. Anyway, so after that, I went home and I didn't tell anyone about this. I'll get to that later, but basically, I think I was like mentally messed up because, and I was ashamed about this for a long time, but now I'm not because I'm freely talking about it. But after that happened with Jessica's uncle, me and Ray and I were still hanging out and we were still seeing each other. So I kind of brought this up to him and I was like, hey, so I learned this new thing. I think we can play with each other's D words, you know, with our mouths, because I learned that it felt good for me. And so suddenly me and Ray were blowing each other, like literally in his garden or like away from his parents. It started to get a little bit weird because we were getting more creative with like what we were doing with each other's like private parts. We were blowing each other. We were, you know, using like used band-aids on each other's D words. And then we were using like coat hangers. I don't know what we were doing, but like basically we were very experimental. And I think that like caused me to have problems growing up. It definitely did. And that's what I'm gonna get into. But I wanted to give you guys some background. You can put two and two together and like kind of piece things together if you know like fully what had happened to me. Eventually I moved away to a different town in Indonesia. My dad died when I was 7. When I was 8 years old, I was living with my mom, my single mom, and I you know, I felt really guilty that I hadn't told anyone about this before, and so I decided to tell my mom one day that, you know, all of this had happened, and I think she took it the wrong way and she thought that I was like participating in something bad. And so, and she's like super, you know, Catholic, and she was homophobic at the time. We were also in Indonesia where like gay people were like aren't a thing. And so she cried and put me to confession at church. And so I had to confess my sins to a local priest. And after that, I hated myself and felt bad about, you know, anything gay related or anything like sexual related. And so that definitely, you know, plays a big role in what masturbation problems I'm about to tell you next. Sorry that it took me so long to get to the actual masturbation problems, but I thought it'd be important to let you know what happened. But now let's talk about the actual like masturbation problems that I developed starting when I was 6 years old until I guess whenever. So the first masturbation problem that I want to address is not the one right here. I started very, very early. I started jacking off, I think, when I was 11 years old, like literally fully jacking off, like fully masturbating, cum and all. And I don't know if that's normal for all kids, but that was how it was for me. In the beginning, like I said, I was very, very like guilty all the time about anything sex related or like anything gay related. So when I started going through puberty, obviously I got horny. I started to get horny more. And I knew, you know, that like me and Ray had done stuff in the past. And so I kind of would like replicate those things. Like I would scratch my D word until I would finish, and I would like say like, oh, I didn't really masturbate, I just kind of like scratched myself. Or like I would go in the shower and I would like angle the shower head and the shower water pressure in a way that like would only hit my D word, and then I would finish and come, and then I'd be like, oh well, I didn't masturbate, I kind of just, you know, let the shower do its thing. I had developed this really bad habit of like doing something bad, quote unquote bad, and then I would tell my mom about it because I would feel like guilty for not telling her, which is probably just like a trauma thing. But I would tell my mom these things like, oh mom, like I like had a wet dream last night, even though I literally would jack off at night, and my brain would like see that as like a wet dream to get out of trouble. And then she showed me like this Bible verse where it said like masturbation is a sin, same with gay people. And so I'd be like, yeah, cool, I definitely will not be telling you anything else at this point. She's completely different now. I want to just like put that on the record. She's my best friend, she's amazing. It's just like we grew up very differently, so she's completely good now and I tell her everything. So just wanted to let you know. So I would basically jack off all the time when I was 11. I don't know if that's normal for a lot of young kids. And now I want to talk about the second masturbation problem that came up when I was in middle school, and that is that I started to get aroused and turned on by a lot of weird things. Now, we don't kink shame, right? We don't. But for an 11-year-old, I don't know if these things were normal. I was going through puberty and I was discovering, kind of like looking back at it, I was probably like discovering what I was into and what I wasn't into. And I was really, 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 really into the idea of like wedgies. For some reason, even though this had never, like I had never received a wedgie, and me and Ray, or like the other old pedophile uncle, none of them gave me wedgies, but for some reason I was really, really into wedgies. Like I would give myself wedgies and then like jack off, or I would like watch a video of like a wedgie and then like get turned on, or like I would read Captain Underpants and then get turned on. I would literally do this like martial arts class that my mom forced me to do, and I would give myself wedgies in the bathroom before sessions. It was very bizarre, and I was 11 years old and I did this all in secret. Another thing that I was really into at 11 years old, which I don't know if this is normal, is I was really into guys getting kicked in the balls or getting smacked in the balls. I would literally always YouTube videos of guys getting kicked in the nuts for the purpose of like masturbating. I would also like, I would literally Google like Zac Efron's Tack Tap on Ellen. He talked about like hitting other dudes' balls, and I would literally get so like turned on from that. At school, if someone, you know how like kids would smack each other and stuff, I was really into that, and I would like get turned on if someone like hit me in the balls. I don't know, just stuff like that, even though it would hurt. I don't know, it was really weird, and I wouldn't say it's like concerning to be turned on by things, but like it definitely was, looking back, for a kid, because I feel like if I had gone down a different path, like what if I did things to other kids for the sake of like being turned on by those things? Like that would be completely horrible and messed up. And obviously I didn't molest anyone, but like I would literally never do that. But let's say I wasn't myself and someone else went through what I went through and had those thoughts, like what if they did those things, you know, to other kids? Like that would be completely messed up and completely unfair. So yeah, but yeah, I would definitely, you know, I would definitely masturbate to like guys getting kicked in the balls, especially when, you know, America's Funniest Home Videos would air, and a lot of it would be like dads getting kicked in the balls or like getting hit in the nuts in some way, shape, or form, and I would really like it. Even if the guy wasn't cute, I would still be into it. Like, what the heck? The third masturbation problem that arose, I would say, is as a little kid, as an 11-year-old, I went on some very, very sketchy sites that honestly, I don't even think I want any kids now, especially my own kids, to go on these sites. I used to go on jackandworld.com all the time, and for those of you that don't know, jackandworld.com is basically this like forum, like website thingy, kind of like a Reddit-y thing, forum-y thing, where dudes would talk about like jacking off. So like ideas on how to masturbate, or like, oh, things to masturbate to, things like that. I would go on this forum to get new ideas as to how I should get turned on, and I'll get to that like later, like things that I did that weren't normal. But another website that I went on was Omegle, and Omegle was definitely an adventure. I definitely don't think any kid should be going on Omegle.com, but I did, and I would go on Omegle and I would type in #gay, and I would say, 18M USA. You know how it's like ASL, age, sex, location, and I would just chat with dudes, and I would get aroused by that, and I would jack off. It didn't end at 11 years old. I just wanted to say that it started at 11 years old, which is, definitely a problem if your kid is going on Omegle all the time. I was also very, very lonely, and I hated my life, so that's probably a part of the reason why. So, you know how I said I got inspo on how to jack off from jackandworld.com? This leads me to masturbation problem number 4, and that is I used some weird household items to jack off. So someone on jackandworld.com had said, you try using a banana peel, and I saw that and I was like, you know what? That sounds like a great idea. And so I would eat like bananas. Oh wait, I want to say, before I get into masturbation problem number 4, on Omegle, I wouldn't say I'm a dude, because I remember, I think I wasn't ready to come out as gay, or like I wasn't like fully gay yet in my head. In my mind, I was only into dudes because I had stuff happen to me as a kid, so like it didn't feel like a genuine thing to me at the time. So what I did was, when it was ASL, I would say, I think if I'm remembering correctly, I think I would say 18F USA. Like I'd pretend to be a girl and talk about like my coochie or something. So anyway, back to jackandworld.com. Someone on jackandworld.com had said to use a banana peel to whack off. I thought that'd be a great idea. It should feel like a vagina. And so I ate a banana one day and then I jacked off and it felt great. But like the reason why I'm saying this is not a problem to use items to whack off, but like I was literally 11, 12 years old. So like imagine if I had read something that was dangerous, or like imagine if I had, done something risky that was bad for my sexual health or something like, and you could read so much as a kid and you could be influenced so much. And so like thank God that it was a banana peel and not like, I don't know, like a freaking like a lighter or like a dude with AIDS. I don't know, but like, imagine if I had like read something else and I hurt myself or I hurt someone else in the process. Or imagine if, I had read that like if I got into non-consensual sex, because that's what happened to me as a kid. Imagine if I read about that and I was like, oh, like I'm into that. I'm into like the non-consensual stuff, and then I become like a freaking molester. Like, can you imagine if I became a molester or like a person that like did that? Like, I literally would like not want to be there. I would want to check myself into a jail. The fifth masturbation problem that I want to address is I got addicted to masturbating. I would do this all the time, literally all the time, and guess what? Everywhere. I would jack off literally like all the time at home. I was really into like the secretive thing. So like if my mom was sleeping over there, we had a 1-bedroom at the time because we were super poor, but like let's say she was sleeping on the other bed, I would be like into it, and I would not into her, but like I would be into the idea of like masturbating under the sheets and doing it without getting caught. Like I was super into that. I was doing it literally in car rides with other people. I was jacking off at sleepovers with my friends. I was masturbating at school, in class. I was doing it like in public behind the gym at my high school. I was doing it, oh yeah, but we're moving on to high school now. You know, I was doing it literally like at restaurants, like everywhere. I consider this to be a problem because even though yes, like I'm still into doing like sexual things in public, but like with someone that I trust in a way that's like romantic, not in a way that's like, oh, I'm jacking off by myself. It was just weird. Like I was just doing it all the time everywhere. It was kind of insane. My guy friends at school, my straight guy friends would come up to me and they'd be like, oh, like, you know how like guys talk about jacking off and like girls when they're growing up, they would tell me like, oh, like, you know, I did this in class one time, or like I jacked off like while you were there when I was at your house. Or like one time my friend literally came over and he was like, oh, this girl's so hot, I'm gonna go jack off in your room. Or like he was jacking off like under the sheets like next to me, and then he went to the bathroom to finish. And I was so into that, and I got ideas from that. But this brings me to my like next point. I think this is number 6. But basically, I would imagine doing sexual things with literally all of my guy friends at school. The guy that I told you about that jacked off next to me and then went to the bathroom, I thought about doing stuff with him literally for years. Like I said, obviously I wouldn't do anything without consent. I honestly didn't do anything with any guys growing up, but I would be so turned on by my guy friends. Like if they said something that was like somewhat arousing, whether it be about jacking off or about a girl, or if they like grunted or something, or got kicked in the balls or got smacked in the nuts, whatever it is, I would keep that in my mind. Like if that happened at school, I would like keep that in my mind and keep it in my memory bank, and then I would think about it when I would jack off next, wherever that is. I don't know if that's normal, to be honest. I don't know if that is normal. I hope, like, I don't think it's good to think about your friends like that, but yeah, I definitely would like save those memories and like think about it later and use that as like inspo to masturbate. I resolved a lot of these problems when I was like 19 because I fixed my relationship with my mom, and I, you know, talked about my sex trauma with everyone, and I pretty much feel good overall about my life now. I figured out a lot of my sex stuff through this like 3-year friend with benefits relationship type of situation that I went through when I was like 20 years old. I saw this guy who I fell in love with for the first time, and who I actually lost my virginity to, and we had sex twice a week. I bottomed, obviously, and kind of through him I discovered a lot of like my problems, and he was the person that made me realize that I was like actually gay and not just like crazily obsessively thinking about dudes because I was like relating to what happened to me when I was molested at 6 years old. But even he, like, even going out with him definitely like introduced me to new problems when it comes to adulthood and when it comes to sex too. Even today, you know, I still somewhat to a degree still feel addicted to masturbation. You know, I don't masturbate when I'm on trips with my friends. I can go like days, weeks without doing it if there's a reason not to. But if I'm by myself in my room, or if I have my own space, you know, I'm gonna do it. I don't know if that's normal, but like I do it before bed to help me go to sleep. In terms of what I think about, when I was seeing that guy, the guy that I told you about that I lost my V-card to for like 3 years, I would only think of him when I would jack off. But now that I'm not seeing him anymore, I definitely do gravitate back towards like my friends. That's kind of something that like is still there. I still think about like banging my guy friends that are cute or like ones that I'm like close to. I wish that wasn't the case, but like it is. I definitely get sexual thoughts about a lot of dudes, like even before the guy that I lost my V card to, like my roommate or like someone cute that I worked with, whatever it may be. And you know, the fear that I have is like maybe that's related to, you know, having a literal friend with benefits when I was 6 years old. I hope it's not, or maybe I hope that it is related to that, because then I'll have a reason to explain like these desires. Regardless, I definitely do think about sleeping with my friends. Not all of them, but like some of them. I don't know if that's related to my childhood trauma, but you know, I don't even know if any of this is fully related to that trauma, but I think a lot of it does. I think a lot of it stems from what happened to me as a child, and getting raped and molested by 2 different guys at 6 years old, because that can definitely do a lot of things to you psychologically growing up. But thank the Lord that I'm not like a rapist or like a pedophile, because girl, I could literally never imagine doing that to a kid. Like I would rather not be, like, I just can't. Anyway, so that kind of marks the end of this video. Those were my masturbation problems that I developed after getting raped and molested at 6 years old by a dude that was also my age, a kid, and a pedophile. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope if you're watching this, you either like me and you think I'm entertaining, or you actually benefit from the stuff that I share. I hope, you know, if you're a victim of abuse, of sexual abuse, I really hope that you find it within yourself to tough it out. I definitely hated my life for a long time because of this situation, and I came out of it, so I know you can too. And you know, I feel like so many people can relate to this, because unfortunately this is a common thing for a lot of people, being touched when they were kids, and I really do feel sorry that that happened to you if that did. And just know that, you know, there's a whole community of people that can relate. I can relate, and I'm here for you. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please, again, like this video and subscribe to my channel if you're new here, or if you haven't done so already. It really does help out with the YouTube algorithm, and I want to grow more on YouTube, so please do so. And yeah, leave a comment below if you have, you know, a similar experience and you want to share, and I'll get to you. And also please leave a comment asking if you want, you know, what kind of content you want to see from me next, and if you have any questions for me, whatever the case may be. Thank you so much. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.